Miss, the Bucks, the rebound. Middleton would go to the free throw line. Whoa. 42 for Booker, tremendous, but 40 for Middleton. And you see the final 5.5 of the fourth quarter. Suns held a 5-point lead, having to try to manage the foul situation that involved Booker. The Bucks able to outscore the Suns 19-8 down the stretch. Suns a couple of costly turnovers, only able to make 3 of their 10 shots down the stretch. Brand new series, best of 3 from here. And we welcome in Tim Legler. We get a look at him as we get a look at the Deer District in Milwaukee. Man, they're fireworks and enjoying. There's a lot going on in this game, Legs. As always, I give you a wide berth to just tell me where you want to go first about what ultimately determined this game.
Yeah, there were half a dozen times, Scott, when I thought that the game was going to be won in a different direction. There were so many big plays made in the last 5 minutes of the game. I think for me what stood out was the fact that Chris Middleton was in rhythm enough earlier in the game. He felt comfortable being the guy that was going to decide matters. Obviously, you're trying to overcome what Devin Booker did. The foul trouble really took a lot away from the beginning of that quarter for Devin Booker, and maybe the Suns win this thing by 8-10 points if he doesn't have to leave the game. But as a result of that, the Bucks stayed within striking distance, and then Chris Middleton got to his sweet spot. And when he gets to the middle area of the floor and he's off the dribble and he already is in rhythm from earlier in the game, he's as good a late game closer as anybody in this league, really, in that situation. The question is, are they going to go there in those moments, Scott? When I've watched them over the years, last few years, when they have struggled at times in the clutch, it's because they've gotten away from that. This is their best option with the game on the line. It's put the ball in the hands of Chris Middleton, whether you give him an isolation in the middle area or, better yet, let's run some ball screen with Giannis. Giannis slipping, diving, occupying guys, let Chris Middleton come off. And if he gets to that 15 to 18-foot area on balance, he goes up. He's got such great height to get that shot off with a little bit of a lean back. He took over the game when they absolutely had to have it. But there were a lot of big plays made. Pat Connaughton made some big plays in this one. Giannis, obviously, with one of the best defensive recoveries you're going to see in a game, period, much less with what was on the line to break up that lob to DeAndre Ayton. So a lot of guys contributed. But for me, if Chris Middleton doesn't take over offensively and put the ball in the basket when they absolutely have to have it on back-to-back possessions, the Suns are up 3-1 right now.
Tim, that encompasses a lot of the conversations I feel like you and I have had over these past few years. One, it's about the Bucks' late game and late clock situations, who you're going to go to. In this case, it's Middleton. And it also speaks to who Middleton is. I don't feel like people talk about him like he's a bum, but I also don't feel like people talk about him like he's what he is. A guy who can get you 40 in the finals and help win you a game. That's who he can be, and I don't always think that he's described as such. Why do you think that is?
He definitely isn't. And honestly, look, even if you weren't on board with Chris Middleton being described the way you just did prior to the last couple of postseasons, I mean, if you're not putting him there now, you're just not paying attention. You're not watching to how consistent this guy has been. Yeah, he's had a couple of off nights here or there, and it seems like when he does it, he catches so much weight for not supporting Giannis Antetokounmpo. But I've seen a lot of nights where he's been so good late, irrespective of what Giannis Antetokounmpo is doing. And in some cases, he's the guy that actually is the one you want the ball in his hands more than the two-time MVP. He has come through enough times for me, Scott, now that I expected. I said it before the game. I thought Chris Middleton was a given. I wasn't worried about Chris Middleton tonight. Kind of knew Giannis would put up numbers. I knew Booker would bounce back. I think for me, the two X factors right now are Jrue Holiday and Chris Paul. You're not exactly sure what you are going to get offensively from those two players. Tonight, Chris Paul didn't really give Devin Booker any help except for a very short spurt when he went out of the game with that fifth foul. But for the most part, it was Devin Booker's show tonight, and it just wasn't enough to offset what you got out of Giannis. And then Chris Middleton was sensational late in the game. But if you don't know this guy's capable of doing this, you're not paying attention to Chris Middleton over the last 2 or 3 postseasons.
Chris Middleton's with me. I'm going to get to him now. I've never done this to you, Tim. I'm going to make it possible to do this. But if there's some way you can touchscreen the Giannis block on Ayton, I need to figure out how in the hell it's possible to block that alley-oop, because it was about to be a tie game and then it wasn't. So I'm going to get to Chris. If we're not going to diagram it, at least let's talk about it a little bit later, all right?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I can't wait to see that one.
All right, that's Tim Legler, and we welcome in Chris Middleton now. Chris, congratulations on a 4th year, as Tim Legler and I are bragging on what you just did. A tremendous performance, and your team needed every bit of what you gave. How do you best describe sort of your level of confidence in this moment to give your team what you gave them? It would be apparent that Chris Middleton can't hear me. Hi, Chris. It's Scott Van Pelt. Can you hear me? Nope. 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 All right. We're going to get the Chris Middleton microphone sorted out, I hope. And if a little more context on his night while we work on the microphone issues. For the first 3 games of the series, Middleton was averaging just over 19 points per game. More than double that tonight with the 40-piece, a postseason career high for him, as he outscored the Suns by himself 10-4 over the final 2 minutes and 15 seconds. Let's try this again. Chris, hi, it's Scott again. Can you hear me?
What's up? What's up? Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, right on, because I asked a question before and you couldn't, and there's no worse feeling in TV than sitting here. All right, so you were spectacular in this game with 40 points, and as we just described, you were unbelievable late. How do you best, Chris, explain and describe the level of confidence you have to meet that moment when that is required?
My confidence stays high at all times. My teammates, they always stay on me to be aggressive, shoot the ball when I'm open, try to make plays. Late, they wanted me to have the ball and just try to make a play happen. Thankfully, some shots went down for me there at the end.
A couple of things in that 4th quarter. It was one of those games where you were fighting so hard to try to get even or take the lead, and a number of shots didn't go. When Connaughton hits that corner 3 and you take the lead, how does that change sort of the level of energy, belief, whatever? How big a shot was that?
That was a huge confidence boost. Like you said, we couldn't get over the hump, it seemed like, for the whole game. And once Pat hit that shot, we knew we had a great chance to, win this ball game. Like I said, Pat hit that big shot. We got some great stops down the stretch. That definitely helped us, close it out.
Well, you making all those buckets and the block Giannis had, I mean, look, you play with a guy nightly. You see insane things from him. But Ayton's going to dunk that ball, and it's a tie game. And somehow Giannis blocks it. How do you describe what you saw him give in that moment? I see you shaking your head.
He's been doing that for years. He comes out of nowhere. It seems like guys have an open layup, and next thing you know, he's out there at the rim contesting it or blocking it. He's an athlete. He gives it all every possession. That's what we need from him every night.
And just as a last sort of big picture thought, Chris, I mean, you defend home floor, and now it becomes a short series. It becomes best 2 out of 3. When you have won the most recent 2, how do you bottle what you've done and take that energy, that momentum, that belief with you into these remaining games?
Just got to do whatever we're doing here. We got to do that plus some on the road. It's been extremely tough on the road all series long. It's been tough those first 2 games there. But the only way we can win this series is, we got to win on the road. So we got to find a way to get this one next to make life a little bit better for ourselves.
Man, last thing, you're so calm. You never seem to get too high or too low. I hope this is fun, man. You just had 40 in the finals, man. I hope that as you drive home, you're thinking about what you just did. At least a little bit.
Nah, it's definitely fun. But I got to stay as locked in as I can. After the series, after the season, I took a deep breath and, look back at what we accomplished this season and enjoy it for sure. But, in the moment, I just try to stay locked in, take it game by game, possession by possession.
I respect and appreciate that, as well as what you just did tonight. Tremendous performance, Chris. Congrats on the victory. Thanks for sorting through our technical issues, and we'll do it again, all right?
Yeah. No problem. Thanks.
Thank you very much. That scene outside the building. Steve,
That's your element.
Yeah, we'll take that on the road, baby.
You won't.
All right, here's Monty Williams on the other end of this celebration in the locker room.
Hey, let me tell you something. All of this is correct. We're in this situation right now because we put ourselves in this situation. I mean in a good way. We got 3 games to win 2. That's how you got to look at it. You can't have your heads down right now. You got to stay together. That's the deal. What happened tonight is correctable. 17 offensive rebounds they got, 17 turnovers we had. Think about that, guys. We had a 21-point fourth quarter. We're making it hard on ourselves, okay? But we can't have our heads down. It's emotionally tough, but we got to know we put ourselves in this position. We got home court advantage. You got to keep your spirit high. That's the deal. This is hard. This is freaking hard. So you got to stick together. That's the deal. All right? Let's bring it in. Come on, guys.
Jeff Van Gundy, Mark Jackson, kind enough to join us once again as they have been throughout these playoffs and finals. And there's so many storylines here, guys. I want to kind of take them in order because Booker was remarkable. And then I thought for sure he fouled Drew Holiday, but it wasn't his 6th. That could have come back to been massive, you know, if he's able to be the difference after what would have been his 6th foul. I just wonder, what'd you think of the whistle there throughout the game, particularly as it related to the Booker call, Jeff?
Well, I thought it was a clear foul, and I just think the playoffs are called so much differently than the regular season in the NBA. It's allowed much more physical contact. You can ride and drive through screens. Contact in the paint is more like it was back in the 90s in this series, and I actually enjoy the physicality, but it is a change-up for the players.
And it shouldn't be. You should be consistent. The same way you referee and play during the regular season should be the same way you referee and play during the postseason. So to me, it's a difficult adjustment to make, and it was clearly, I'm in agreement with both of you guys, Devin Booker's 6th foul it should have been.
And maybe, and look, Suns fans could look at the 5th and say whatever. I mean, we could take a magnifying glass to every foul. The 6th in particular, it seemed like the 6th, they didn't call it. We just talked to Chris Middleton, and I talked to Tim Legler a little bit earlier about sort of what he is, Mark. I mean, this is a guy capable of scoring 40 points, and I don't necessarily feel like he's seen and accepted necessarily as a star. I mean, if you can get 40 in the finals and close out a game like that, that's what you are you not, Mark?
You look at his efficiency, not just this year, in his entire career. The guy has the complete package on the offensive end. Jump shot, mid-range shot, three-point shot, foul shot, the ability to ISO and make plays, the post up, the size. Defensively, he is an outstanding basketball player, and it should not be breaking news when you're talking about the NBA Finals. He's playing against an elite guy in Booker and playing him shot for shot.
It's a 2-point game. Booker has an alley-oop to Ayton that looks for the world like it's going to tie the game up, Jeff. I mean, you have the best seat in the house to see what Giannis does on a nightly basis. Help frame that for me, that play that's kept it a 2-point lead for the Bucks.
It's one of the great recovery plays that you'll ever witness. He was guarding a guy who's having a career playoff night type of situation, so he had to be up a little bit higher on Booker when he was guarding Ayton in the pick and roll to try to stunt his dribble penetration. And then Booker, off the dribble, just flipped it up. And for him to have the agility, mobility, and hostility to go up there and block at the rim, that's a special, special play.
You are a rapper.
I was a little channeling
in
a little
my
Walt,
own mind. Yeah,
a little Walt Clyde for the people. Guys, on the way out, if either of you have any sense of the direction this thing goes, I'd love to know. I mean, it's been home court thus far. You feel like there's any clarity about who ultimately wins this title?
I'll tell you what, we're going to Phoenix, and it's been an outstanding NBA Finals. You're talking about two teams that's evenly matched, that are well coached, and they've left it on the floor. Milwaukee looked dead. They come home and they take care of business. It's been a heck of a run.
Yeah, I thought Milwaukee really struggled to find any half-court rhythm, and then they got a 33-point fourth quarter. I thought it was a terrific comeback. I thought they were tired for a lot of the game, and somehow, some way, found their way to victory through some great defense and a terrific offensive performance by Middleton.
Well said. And then, it's moments, right? And in games like this, it's moments. Connaughton hits a three, Middleton takes over, you get a block on one end, and now we got a true best of 7, it would appear, tied up at 2 apiece. Mark, Jack, Jeff, I beg your pardon. Thanks so much for the time, and we'll talk again soon.
Thanks, Scott.
Thanks, Scott.
Yeah, thanks so much. All right, so series turns into the best of 3, as we've said. Bucks have been dominant in a sense this postseason, 11-2 in these games, the 3rd best record by any team since 2000. What am I trying to say here? Oh, games 3 through 7. Once they get to game 3, it helps if I sort of take a second to process what it is I'm trying to say. Rest of the top 5 on that list, won titles. So there you go. All right, we're with you for